This will be a three-part series on the current state of Robocraft. The first one I'll be talking about is what the heck F equals MA is. It's not even remotely close to what even I expect. The next one will be about how the history of these different balancing systems we've had, which is we've had tiers, we've had boosts, and now we're back to tiers. And I'm going to dive into all the history of that, what a lot of the mechanics actually were there for, and a lot of the things that they're missing out on, as well as this new weapon rank system, which completely throws a lot of this stuff out of the water. So the second video will be about that, and then the last one will be about what we drastically need to change right now to turn the game around, because there's just things that are blatantly just completely not correct, and it's been like this for too long. And actually, in my eyes, what has been worked on gives the ability to change these things very easily, but there's just simply lazy design work, and there's just things that have been completely forgotten about and things that just don't work. Hello, this is FRJH Racing with another physics video, and look at the new FM equals MA system. And honestly, I'm not impressed with it. I've done some thorough testing with the acceleration values versus mass, and I've done it with just a couple different parts to the point where I just gave up on doing these tests because they were pretty much as I expected, and they didn't really do actual F equals MA. What this system is, in my eyes, is just modified carry mass, and carry mass as a whole, since its implementation way back in 2014-2015 era, had always had a specific issue that remains to this day, which is what F equals MA in my eyes was supposed to fix, but they did not fix it. So some of the tests I did was I started with an assault rotor, and I ran some experiments with I took this same block of cubes, and I built pretty much the same one, but with a light, medium, heavy cubes. And then I did the same thing, and I did variable testing with one assault rotor, two assault rotors, and so on. The problem now is that there's no difference in all of these parts. These parts have pretty much the same acceleration values, and then once you reach a certain mass, they'd stop working. So other things that I solved in the game is that your speed that's listed here versus the speed in game are wrong from a unit point of view, and in doing so, they have essentially put you in a situation where you're not really told the right speed, and therefore has changed the effective scale of the game. In my last physics video, I talked about how effective scale determines your perception of speed, and in this update with their well, actually I think a few updates ago for Infinity, they did this, and nobody really looked into it. I didn't look into it until now, and well, to be perfectly honest, it's another wrong thing, and let's just try to dive right in. So the first thing is I did this whole acceleration curve with assault rotors. The assault rotor with 1x of just one of them has an absolute carry mass of 1900-300 kilograms. So if you go over that by just a few, it won't hold itself up, and if you build just under that, you might be able to increase altitude very slowly. However, at all these masses, even up to 200 kilograms below carry mass capacity, the max threshold, the pure acceleration of it was pretty much negligible difference. It kind of irks me that we're going to call this F equals MA. So the first thing is this is linear like when you're going from left to right, forward to back. So linear translation. I did all these different mass parts, and as I did this, you'll notice that the acceleration does go down, but is that this acceleration value is so high that you're pretty much not really going to be feeling a difference. The other thing is why this kind of deviates, this 48 versus this 51, is the error of my ability to take an accurate time, and the game's ability to manage acceleration at these very low masses. I mean, look, this is 500 kilograms and this is 7,000 kilograms. Yes, it says it accelerated faster, but to be perfectly honest, is basically the same up to about this value. And then as you started increasing, I think 10,000 was when it really started the dip. But the point is that your variable range only really starts around this point, 7 to 10,000 kilograms in mass. And also, yet again, makes light cubes completely useless. It takes away the purpose of having them there, and the only point of having a light cube is once you've built a very nice heavy core, you can then start using light cubes to fill CPU at a very you can pretty much just lock in whatever accelerates in at that mass and then use light cubes to fill the rest. They're just a filler at this point. They don't really benefit your acceleration other than when you need to fill CPU. Why this is important is that they also did this to wheels. So this update pretty much did basically nothing to wheels except for nerf their acceleration and lower their carry mass. So I haven't done that. I haven't done these, so I'm just gonna. But even up to 72,000 kilograms with a geoterrain or the T5 wheel or the T4 wheel, the one that's not mega, the acceleration values were pretty much within my error. They were a little bit less, but look, that's 59 versus 54. And I just ran another test this morning with the lower tier wheels, the T3 wheels, and look at how heavy this is, 103,000 kilograms. And it's the very same story. It's that I actually timed it, and it was let me see, I looked at my timer, I think it was 1.80 for yeah, it was. I ran a few tests and it was just like 1.80 for the time. And if you look at that, it's probably just a little bit less. Let's look at this one. There's none of them that were in that range. So the problem here is that the acceleration values are negligibly different for what they really need to be. And so to put in perspective of how different they need to be, I have my little physics game that I've made with cars, and I have all these variable systems, and I'm going to show you the difference of acceleration and speed. So people are saying things are too slow, rightfully slow. They are very slow. Also, acceleration is too high. To this day, the acceleration values are pretty much non-deviant, and they are about similar to what they used to be, which was 0 to top speed in about less than 2 seconds. So my little experiment there was ran a different way. It didn't test 0 to top speed. It tested 0 to or tested stop to a point to point, and then I used an equation of 1/2 AT squared equals your distance traveled. And I used a set known distance based on the robot, or based on the relative scale per cube. So anyway, the point is that things are too slow and acceleration is too high to this day. If you look at the difference of the two, by saying 180 kilometers per hour, you're actually bringing the speed down even more to what you perceive. And it's also misleading inside of the stats. So that's just one lazy thing that I found. Even with a little bit of speed boost, you'll see here that this goes pretty much 180 kilometers per hour right there. A little bit more because I boosted the other one. So using this information, I tested quite a few things, like I found the gravity coefficient of Robocraft by driving a car off of an edge consistently with a known height and I knew the distance, I knew the time, so therefore I calculated the displacement equation when using pure acceleration. So then it's 63.7 meters per second squared. To put that in perspective, that is about 6 times that of Earth's gravity. And also, with this kilometers per hour thing, the relative scale basically went down to 0.65 instead of 1 meter per side for each cube, which I showed in my last video on physics. So the cubes are effectively and perceived smaller, and then also your acceleration coefficients are perceived differently because you're traveling. Because each cube is smaller, you're traveling less distance in the same amount of time. So that means things like acceleration are effectively faster, or they're showed to be faster, but in reality they are not. What this also means is that speed can be presented at a smaller value or at the same value, and you're going to be going much slower actually. So the problem now is that this same scale, relative scale in the game, we're looking at 200 miles per hour being like the average top speed of most things, or 220. The problem with this is that before it was like 300 to 400 miles per hour was considered fast, and that was good. It was good that things were fast, but the problem is that acceleration was equally too high. So F equals ma, in my eyes, was supposed to solve the acceleration problem from 0 to top speed, but now is what they did is they nerfed top speed, and acceleration is still near instant, and then it does not change until you go over carry mass that much. It is negligible. So that is my main gripe with this whole acceleration system, mass equals ma, and the speed. A lot of people are saying things are too slow, because they are. They are 2/3 too slow, and F equals ma needs to be variable over a consistent mass difference. So another thing that this F equals ma system did is it heavily nerfed thrusters' ability to manage weight on the rotational axes. So they essentially added carry mass to thrusters, but in doing so, or they made stricter carry mass and they lowered the thrust. The F equals ma system in its current state can't support this issue as well, which is the inertia tensor. So when having parts of varying magnitude of difference of mass, you have a situation where your inertia tensor is related to that as well. So even if they somehow balance the force, the translational acceleration, what they're going to have to also fight is the inertia tensor. So even with TX cubes and being a relatively light bot, my roll rockets have horrible rotation now. Like, look at this. This is with a mega plasma, and that's the key thing that's nerfing it right now. But in general, the inertia tensor and the forces that the current thrusters have make high agility vehicles in the air almost impossible, even when you do sacrifice parts for mass to be lighter. So let's look into what you've done to planes and other things, and how you cannot escape the inertia tensor problem with the current mass balance of all parts, which is a huge problem if you're trying to properly implement F equals ma. So if I take this megaplasma off, look, the bot's only 2,900 kilograms, and an inertia tensor will determine your rotational velocity for any force, and is calculated by the collection of point masses and their distance from the center of mass. and then the magnitude of the mass and its distance. So you have something very heavy that's relatively far away from the center of mass, then your inertia tensor increases, and then that rotational inertia and its ability to rotate fast is decreased. It'll rotate fast or slower when it's a higher inertia tensor. So we're going to take this off, and that took off a fair amount of mass. But if we take a look at how it handles, we'll see what it does. Still a relatively slow rotation speed. I mean, look at that. That's nothing. And even with my this is all TX cubes for the most part, and I've actually added additional roll thrusters to accommodate this, and at that you can see that whatever changes they made in this last F equals MA system is not going to really work also compared to what I've already showed you. So they've basically nerfed agility for rotating as well, and they can't fix that unless they rework the entire F equals MA system. So now I'm going to take a look at what it does with wings that are working like VTOL wings, like an actual plane instead of my vertical keyboard drones. So this F equals MA has basically killed most keyboard drones in being viable. You don't get the agility that you want, or the rotational velocities that you want either, because they just nerfed it all. However, you can't, even with this little of mass, you can't invest in light cubes to make it any better. It's just going to be bad regardless. So here I still have my old plane. It's a little hard to take out, but this is my AC1350, which was my main back in the day. And I think I even kept it 1511 CPU, if I recall. So we'll hear, this is a medium cube plane, and this was particularly agile before, but let's see what it does now. Very slow rise and descend, even with pitch thrusters, and horrendous turn speed. This is not even remotely. This is ridiculous. I actually haven't tried planes, and this is a relatively light weight plane using medium cubes, and this is not even fun. Now I can see one of my friends who is a main for planes. At least VTOL planes before had good agility, but not only the fact that they're VTOL wings, but now they're just slow. This is unacceptable. So this is a byproduct of the inertia tensor, and then if you were to make this even heavier with heavy cubes or light cubes, if you were to make this lighter with light cubes, then it still wouldn't help this a sad excuse for agility. So at the end of the day, this is unacceptable. The mass balance of all these parts, they're dumb, they're ridiculous, they don't make sense, they cannot be balanced in this current state, and it's why I'm not surprised the F equals MA system does not work correctly. So the first thing is that if you were to compare a light cube to a medium cube to a heavy cube, they are orders of magnitude different in mass per CPU. Orders of magnitude. So that means a heavy cube is 10 times more mass dense than a medium cube, and that a medium cube is actually more than 10. It's 30 times more heavy than a light cube. So they are, if you're to compare them linearly per CPU, they are a multiple of 10, not just, they aren't like a multiple of like 2 or something. They don't follow a per linear, like if you're to look at chart them over CPU, because they are different mass per CPU, to this extent, their curves are orders of magnitude off compared to their mass or their health per CPU, which only deviate by a few percentage. As you can see, medium cube, light cube. Health, the light cube is definitely way far down there in health, but again, it's one CPU, and they don't make sense. They don't work now because for that low health, their acceleration difference that you get is negligible, as I've already shown with the tests. I just stopped testing it because as I got to different parts, I noticed that I wasn't getting any different times, and honestly I wasn't going to waste my time with all the movement parts that all pretty much move the same. So that's another thing, is if you compare these parts over the different tiers and CPU level, they have negligible difference in accelerations as well. I think the only thing that was really affected for the most part was thrusters, but they were heavily nerfed. So I'm going to get into that, why it matters with this current mass balance. The fact that heavy cubes have to be 100 kilograms used to be indicative of how the mass system was broken. Now there shouldn't be an excuse for it because it should be mass F equals ma. So if you have some mysterious force and some mass, you should get a linear relationship to acceleration, but you don't. You have mass differences per parts that are orders of magnitude off. Then when we go to other parts, you just have completely lazy balancing. Like if you look at these two parts that are effectively the same thing with a different balancing, you have 135 kilograms here, but you have 60 kilograms here. No difference in robot ranking. Completely lazy. Doesn't make sense. I think at the time there was some of these guns were messed up, but again, there's not really, like, nothing really makes sense here when it comes down to mass, because if you were to compare this gun is just 10 heavy cubes, but if you were to put on medium cubes, it would be 100 medium cubes. So that the order of magnitude difference in mass, and somehow making a metric of F equals ma work in this environment of cubes is ridiculous. And the fact that it doesn't work, I'm not surprised with. Also, some of these parts have, like, I think the arrow rods were actually done pretty good, but I can see that they were just lazy and assigned the CPU to the mass value. There wasn't probably a rhyme or reason to any of this, other than some of these other ones are clearly they just completely forgot about, like the small slice versus the short slice. They're the same mass yet again. Then when you compare the short ramp to the three, they're the same, where they're like they are a different mass. So again, another lazy approach to balancing mass. If you look at some of these parts, to put it in perspective, if you look at the struts, have the same health per CPU. Struts are really good right now, by the way. Struts versus EPs have like 1800 health per CPU. About there you go. That's the same health CPU ratio as a EP. Again, it's 1800 CPU almost exactly, but if you look at these mass values, if you look at the volume they take up versus the mass they are, let's take this one's 28 CPU, really low mass, same health per CPU, and you look at this one, 20, let's call this one 27, same health, way more mass, 6 times more mass, and the volume that it takes up is a little bit more. So yet again, relatively lazy balancing of the mass values versus their health. So yeah, if you're the subtract 1800 from that, you would get like 5100, and what is this, 5100. So yeah, it's roughly 1800 HP per CPU, but just completely nonsensical mass values. It's like they forgot some of these parts, And honestly, it's just completely lazy to call this update F equals MA, because I mean, even if you look at these tracks, like, why are they even any mass? Like, why do these things have mass in the first place, let alone 5,000, if their acceleration values not going to be determined by anything important? So honestly, I'm not impressed with this. And then now we're going to go to my model I made. So you'll see here's my force setting, and this is my top speed. So this is with a relatively, like, watch how slow this accelerates. You know, I'm gonna hit the gas now, and once this reaches 26 right here, that's when I've reached my top speed, which is what speed boost does. It has a speed target and you accelerate up to it. But see how slow this is? It's getting up there, and it's not quite powerful enough to get up to speed. So now we're going to go and increase this up to 30,000. We're going to essentially double the force. So now we're getting up there really quick. Not too quick, but it's going. And then now we're actually reaching top speed, and we're stuck there. And this is how Robocraft works: is you have a different you'll have a different force, or you'll have a different mass. You'll have an acceleration, but that's independent of speed, because speed boost determines top speed. Speed boost is your base speed plus the percentage increase of speed boost per part. So if you're to lower the top speed to 15 with a lower speed boost, I can accelerate to that much faster, but I'll only go that fast. So parts that need to be more agile need more force, like for example wheels or wings or something. They need more agility, but maybe their speed is lower, but like wings would be faster with the same agility, or vice versa. Or copters. Like, the problem with the last update is that copters were borderline broken because their acceleration was like, let me give you an example of why they were broken. It's actually probably going to break my model here or crash the game, but things pretty much accelerated like this. Like, this was basically the game, where things just accelerated instantly back and forth, but the top speed was low. Yet again, you didn't solve anything other than acceleration being broken and not reflective of mass. So here, let me put this back to 30, and we're just, bam, we're up to top speed, and let's stop. And this is how like a light cube bot should feel. And then let's put this back down to 15. This is how a heavy cube bot should feel. You see the difference? And that's just because this is the force setting. I can't give you the exact like metrics of it, because I haven't really dialed the game in to have a mass and force relationship. So a lot of this stuff is like arbitrary values. But the point is with the same top speed, I think I can get up to top speed with that force, because it's like an issue with how my parts are made. Yeah, look, I'm accelerating slowly to, there I am, top speed, 30 miles per hour. Okay, and then let's go up to 5 times the force. There I am, top speed, and then now you can see it's kind of glitchy because of how my speed system works. But there I am. I have really fast acceleration, but the same top speed. So I feel like people really need to be able to identify the difference between agility, which is F equals ma, and top speed and speed boost. So when people say it's too slow, it's because it is literally too slow. I've confirmed that. A. And agility is still not even remotely correct. It doesn't really change over the mass, and then the fundamental issue of how the cubes are currently balanced by mass is a joke. Like, I just showed you a few lazy examples of balancing the same type of part, and then these being orders of magnitude different in mass is just, you can't balance it in a true F equals ma system. So my suggestion to FreeJam is that you guys really look at this and seriously take on a actual approach to F equals ma instead of this carry mass, whatever you want to call it, because at the end of the day, until you reach the very absolute carry mass value, which is a static number, like for the salt rotors, they handled exactly the same, and then you reach 19,300, and then they don't move anymore. They're pretty much stuck there, and they're too heavy to lift themselves. So I really need you guys, FreeJam, and also the community, to help identify the actual problem of movement, which I've laid out here, have a thorough understanding of what F equals ma is in my mind and how I've already showed it to you, and then what the difference of speed and acceleration is, which is also something that is drastically too slow. Speed needs to go up, acceleration needs to go down, and mass needs to be rebalanced. Well, if you like what you see, please drop me a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I hope I can provide some more Robocraft related content that you can enjoy, and hopefully we can turn this around.